Hey guys, Dave for Nerdarchy. 4 nerds, by nerds, hang out this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
It's that time again. We're going to delve back into Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 8.
Spoilers! Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
All right, well, our Thursday has happened, also known as Friday, and this is Saturday when we talk about it.
Absolutely. So, what was it, Episode 8 now, Season 2, Campaign 2, Critical Role?
It is. We had a couple memorable moments, a handful. It was, I guess the session was probably about 3.5 hours long or so.
About that, once you factor, everything in. It starts off, with their typical announcements, and I think there was a pretty big announcement.
I would say so.
So they have apparently a new critter that will be joining them for the each and every session, even if it's going to be a quiet one.
Has been joining them apparently.
Well, technically, yeah.
In utero, so and will continue to for a while. And they are. It appears some of them may or may not be shooting for the live birth. With live streaming, we'll see.
We'll see what happens,
or possibly the name the baby critter contest.
But if you're not following along and you're using this to figure out what's up, Laura and Travis are having a baby.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I saw a GIF right after watching the episode. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, wow, she looks really pregnant there.
Well, she said that she's been hiding it.
Yeah.
I guess through clothes and the way she's sitting or what have you. But when she stood up to show it off, she has the pregnant belly. It's there. It's obvious.
And she's rocking the mama bear shirt.
The mama bear shirt, which was pretty cool.
So, cool. She's having a baby. She's having a kid. Congrats if you're into that sort of thing.
And if you're into, I guess, the critter.
Or if you're not into that sort of thing, condolences.
But if you're following the Critical Role gossip, Matt wound up, saying something, later on in the episode that's like, wait a second, I wasn't aware, they talked about Marisha getting injured. Mm-hmm. And when they took the break, he's like, I got to go take care of the wife. Yeah. So I'm like, is he married? So I looked it up, and he got married in October.
Yeah. You're the only one who didn't know that.
Yeah. Whatever. Because I remember, sometime, someone having a conversation, and it's like, is he dating Marisha? And
no, they're a little bit past that.
Yeah, they're past that.
That's what my wife wanted to know. She's like, who's pregnant? Because I said one was pregnant because she walked in after it started. And she might not have known Travis and Laura were a couple, mm-hmm. but she knew Matt and Mercer were married. So my non-gamer wife, Ted, knew. All right,
whatever.
So you knew.
I'm in the dark. I don't typically get into all that stuff.
So that was the big announcement at the beginning. So that was kind of cool. And then getting into the episode was basically them getting to the next town and basically kind of clean up after the gnolls, and so not a whole lot happened as far as moving the story forward. They just kind of moved on.
There were a couple cool and interesting moments, I would say. So first off, getting out of Allfield, they wound up, speaking to Bryce and speaking to the leader of the town, and I'm sorry, but I don't remember his name. But Jester basically blackmails him into getting a letter of writ for Fjord, which I thought was kind of cool. And then we get to then learn about Jester's background, which I always think it's awesome when that stuff winds up coming out. And
we got a big chunk of her backstory, which is cool.
Which is cool, and now we know. Where are we getting? Where is she getting money from? We get into Marisha winding up, or Beau reading the letters that she stole, and there was only one piece of information that was like, ooh, this could lead to a quest, and they wanted to work on that. And then
someone being assassinated might be a big deal.
Might be a big deal.
Well, too, when she had originally gotten them, and my wife happened to be watching with me, she's like, "What's in the packages? I want to know what's in the packages." and I was thrown off a little bit when he said letters because initially he said you got X amount of packages. Uh-huh. So I was expecting little boxes or bundles or something.
I at that time I was expecting stuff as well, and then as the campaign went on, that kind of filtered out of my mind. I'd forgotten about it because by the next episode, it's, a week goes by. So it's like, oh, well, whatever they remind you about, it's like, oh, this is what's going on. So I like that. Oh, by the way, we still have this to contend with.
I must say the players in this game take way better notes than I do. Like they all have little notepads and books and they're writing stuff down, and they're actually really good players in that regards.
I like to take notes of NPCs that have some kind of meaning or note to me when I'm playing. Sometimes I get too caught up in what's going on and forget to take the notes, and then I'm screwed.
I'm kind of lazy, and I'm like, someone else will take the notes. I'll just ask.
Well, in my game, it's easy because Kurt does all that.
Yeah, Kurt takes really good notes. We're just screwed if he doesn't show up. I'm like, hey, Kurt, what is that other dwarf chick's name that I'm courting right now? Something skin etcher.
Is it Cinevale or something along those lines?
Yeah, you don't even remember. That's why I need Kurt all the time.
I got stuff written down. And then on the road to Zadash, they wound up getting set upon by bandits. Sort of.
well, really bad bandits. Good dice rolls on their part.
They bad dice rolls on the players' part. They kept every time they took a watch, the number of perception just kept going down and down and down.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you're just all sleeping.
And it's like 12, 9, 8, 7, 6. Yeah. So the bandits set upon them, and like some hilarity happens. They get into combat, and Caleb totally just melts, incinerates
one of the guys,
their leader, and then things go back into hilarity because they've totally chosen the leader to get destroyed. So it's like their morality just broke at that right.
And Mollymauk just totally intimidates the shit out of them from there on out.
So that part was kind of cool. They wind up like stealing all of the party, which we actually find out they've adopted the name the Mighty Nine, which is amusing. And I'm certain there was
a contest.
Right. Yeah, I'm certain there's going to be jokes about like, well, there's only 6 of you, or when others show up 7.
And when Frumpkin's there's 8.
Right.
And unless they're counting the DM as well, and then you get 9.
Then you can get 9. So it'll be amusing to see. Like, I'm certain that stuff's gonna show up eventually. But the party, the Mighty Nine, winds up robbing the thieves, the bandits.
The bandits, yeah. And then paying them.
And then they paid them to to make them go away.
Turn over your leaf, find a new life. Here's a gold, here's a gold, here's a gold. Put your pants back on, please.
Nott winds up stealing the horses, so now they've got 6, so they've got enough horses for everybody.
He narrowly avoids being drawn and quartered.
So I thought that was pretty amusing. And then they wind up getting to Zadash, where they wind up meeting this, fly-by-night guide who apparently used to be a merchant of sorts, and he's, fallen on, worse times.
Well, we kind of like glossed over the Ruby of the Sea, and Jester's a little bit of an arc there.
Okay.
With her backstory, because apparently she's the daughter of a courtesan,
yep,
one of the most famous courtesans in the region, and and her father kind of the would be father, the baby's daddy kind of just split, after saying he's going to stick around and do this and do that, or that could really just be embellishment from Jester as well.
Well, she had said that they were planning to get married and blah 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 blah, and when the Ruby of the Sea says, "Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant," he's like, "I need to get my affairs in order," and then disappeared.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, this is a big separation from what's going on.
She's kind of got like a tragic backstory now, because not only she's the daughter of a courtesan, but she was actually hidden away and was kind of like a shame thing. It seemed like, and was never acknowledged as the daughter. Doesn't sound like she had a great childhood. So apparently it seems like she invented the Traveler to be like, to keep her company, maybe an imaginary friend. That is now somehow her deity.
So I think that that part was actually really cool.
And she's looking for a dad now.
Right.
Like there was more. Like she played a prank on one of the lords that were really important, and she used magic to dress up like her mom and trick him and put him in a corset and then locked him outside on on a balcony in daylight where we got seen.
So everybody could see him. Everybody could, laugh at him. And yeah, she was not too.
So she was tried, and she was going to be executed. Everyone agreed, included her mother. And so she ran away, essentially. Or maybe her mother snuck her out. I'm not clear on that part exactly. Apparently, they're on good terms if her mom's sending her money. But now she's looking for her dad because she needs a place to stay, and she wants to meet her dad. But she's got all these other adventurers to hang out with, so who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, it's amusing. You've got this whole twisted bundle. I know you brought up the Traveler, and that reminded me, like, the very beginning of this session, they talked about, Shikasta disappearing.
Yeah, it wasn't the Traveler.
And Jester's like, oh, is he the Traveler?
And Cal was like, I think he would have said I'm the Traveler.
So that part was, pretty amusing that, this all wound up transpiring, and they're like, well, where did he go?
Now, bringing up Caleb, too, we're like slowly peeling back some of his stuff as well. Mm-hmm. Apparently there's something in his past about someone being burned alive in front of him. And it's kind of a big deal because, he constantly role plays this like traumatic thing that's happened to him, and he kind of like clams up and goes into a shell, gets almost catatonic when it happens, and then Beau is like using this to be like, oh, like you incinerated that guy and made him into ash, again, and is really like needling him with this stuff.
Yeah, I think it's amusing, and of course it happens. One would think if you're really against burning people, you might want to avoid the fire spells, but he's got this item, and it's like, all right, well, I'm going to use it, and he totally ashes the guy, and it's like, oh well, that was apparently a pretty big deal.
Yeah, well, maybe he's just got an affinity for fire spells, and like even like when you're picking your own spells, part of that could be like the discovery, and that's what you tend to discover because that's where your affinity is and what you're kind of good at. And maybe something in his backstory where he accidentally burned someone alive or something, and now he's kind of like horribly scarred by it.
Well, I mean, that is a good way to approach it. It's not technically the wizard choosing, it's the player who chooses what spells he's going to have. So you could go in a lot of veins that way.
And I guess you could take it a lot of different ways on like how the wizard gains his 2 spells when he levels up. One of them could be just simple discovery, like this is what you discovered in your research, or it could be more methodical, like, well, this is what I chose to create or learn.
Right.
However the player wants to handle it. So yeah, I find that interesting that we're getting a slow drip on Caleb. And as well as Nott too, like we had a little bit of things with Nott too right now. Doesn't she have a birthday now?
She now has a birthday.
Yeah, and I think they gave her an age as well. Like that part was a little fuzzy.
This cute little adorable voice. Well, I am of childbearing age.
Yeah, and they're like, and it's like, well, what is that for? I'm 6 to 9.
So that
it'd
part,
be 3 to 4 if it was a kobold.
So that part is pretty darn amusing. So then once they actually get to Zadash, like I said, they meet this character. He
a little bit on the shady side.
A little bit on the shady side. There's lots of whispering that's happening in this session, which is kind of amusing for us as content creators to watch. And it's like, oh, I remember the days where whispering was a thing.
Or note passing.
And now it's like, oh well, I can't do that because I'm performing to the camera or DMing for an audience.
Oh, what? In the very beginning, they did the magic items too. They did the magic items. They got the goggles of night and the glaive, which I forget the name of it. It had an actual name that they said later on in the episode. Which is like, I was thinking Fjord should take it. Like, it'd have been really cool if he took it and made it his pack-bound weapon. Then he would have been able to... The affectations that he has on his sword, he could just add it to the glaive.
Right.
Because of the nature of the pack lock.
Right.
Pack lock, or blade lock, or lock. So that might have been a cool thing to do.
That was what I would think about at the table. Knowing what I know mechanically about them, but if he's really stuck on, I want to use the sword, yeah.
Because you wouldn't be able to say, I whip my falchion back and forth, I whip my falchion back and forth anymore.
That is true.
It would be totally ruined.
So we get the glove that has got Scorching Ray on it. And there was wasn't there a ring that we don't know what it does yet?
Water walking.
Oh, the ring of water walking, and then the wand of smiles.
Yes, the wand of smiles. Oh, maybe Caleb has the glove, and that's where his scorching ray came from.
I believe that's
I totally missed that. Sorry, I differentiated them in my mind, and I don't know.
So yeah, the ring of water walking and the wand of smiles went to Jester,
Yeah.
and then they traded the glaive in once they actually got to a shop, and we'll get into the hilarity that happened there. But they traded the glaive in plus some money, and now they have a Heward's handy haversack.
That's pink.
That's pink.
This was very important to Jester to make sure it looked pretty. And
Yes.
bang, it happened.
But I mean, she upped the price on the glaive by taking one of her pretty ribbons out of her horns and tying it to the glaive.
2 gold, man. 2 gold.
2 gold.
2 gold is 2 gold.
2 gold is a lot for a hairband.
Although, I don't think it mattered once they did the trade in. So
That's true.
She just lost her ribbon. Well, and get to that. That NPC was pretty funny. He was hilarious. I mean, as always, the NPC interactions from Matt are the best. Like, very no table is really going to match that unless they also happen to have a voice actor, or a really good actor as their DM. Yeah, so all of his NPCs are always really distinct.
And if you look at Matt Mercer's credits on IMDb, that's a lot that he ties to his name. So that's.
I've actually never looked. Is it really long?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm aware of several of the things that he's in, but yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a long list over many different video games and animated shows. And,
yeah,
and
well, oddly enough, like I've had this conversation with someone we know. And like they kind of like look down on voice actors, like they're voice actors because they couldn't be real actors, right? And I view it the opposite. I'm like, there's tons of actors that can never be a voice actor because they only really have one voice. Where someone that's really good, like Matt Mercer or some of the other folks that I've seen, where they're able to do all these different voices and completely change who they are vocally. That's amazing. Like that's like a superpower almost.
Let's break that down. And sorry for this divergence here, but not only do you have to do all of the different emotions, but you have to keep that true to that voice that you're creating.
Yeah, be consistent.
And that in and of itself is difficult. But then layer that amongst 10, 15, 20 different voices. When you have the ability to go in there, I'm going to create this voice, and you're not going to have any idea that that's Ted or Dave or Matt or whoever. Like that's the power of what voice actors do. And like looking up the credits, I was like, oh, well, I've seen that, or I've watched some of that, or I know about that. I didn't realize he was a part of it. My son and I played Skylanders together, and he's attached to some of that, and I'm like, didn't know Matt was involved. It's like, that's cool.
And that's the funny thing, too. Like, there are certain actors that will do voice work, but they still just sound like themselves. Like, Zazu just still sounds like Gilbert Gottfried.
Yep.
Or someone acting like Gilbert Gottfried, but, there's no real change. And there's tons of other actors that have done voice work. It's the same thing.
Patrick Stewart, I mean, he's a phenomenal actor. He's been knighted and all of this stuff. But when he's done some animated stuff, like you can tell, all right, that's Patrick Stewart. There might be a slight twist here or there.
It's Professor X, Captain or Captain Picard.
It's like, all right, never would I ever say, oh, he's a bad actor, because he's not. He's fabulous. Love Patrick Stewart. But to then say, well, I'm gonna go do this voice, it's still Patrick Stewart. Where when Matt Mercer gets into an NPC, a lot of times in these shows,
if you were just listening, you would never know that was Matt Mercer.
Right, and that's the power that he brings to the table. In addition to all the other great skills he's got.
And I just gotta imagine that there's some voice actors out there they're doing exactly what they want to do, because if they were a real actor, right, they couldn't do that. Like they couldn't do all the voices and do that kind of stuff same way.
And there's a lot of freedom when you come in as a voice actor. You don't have to worry about costuming. You don't have to worry about makeup. You come in. You get prepared for that voice, and you just go. I mean, if you watch some of the stuff that I've seen, like behind the scenes on The Simpsons, as an NPC or sorry, as a DM,
Yeah.
I can't have an NPC conversation. It's not in my skill set. But I've seen voice actors sit and have a conversation with themselves.
Matt does it. He does it during some of the episodes, and it's really cool. When I do it, I feel weird, and I'm just like, "Fuck that! I'm not doing that. This is weird."
I narrate. They have a conversation, and this is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to talk to myself. If I want to do that, I'm going to go in a rubber room. But I've watched voice actors from The Simpsons sit there at the microphone, and they go from this voice to this voice, and they have a conversation. And I'm blown away.
Or if I'm going to do it, I at least need to run to each side of the microphone or something. I don't know. This is weird. Sorry, we digress back to Critical Role. But
so this awesome vendor, whatever you want to call him, is a Fomorian. Furbolg. I'm like, I know it starts with F, and no, there wasn't a Fomorian in town. A Furbolg that I hadn't encountered one before, and it was kind of interesting, like. When they start having this conversation and he gets into this,
Well, they still can't say they encountered one.
Well, because they didn't encounter one. They encountered 4.
And it's unclear as to whether they're the same one or not. I think they are the same one.
They're clones.
But it's, but that 9th level spell, 8th level spell, so... he's up there. He's powerful.
This guy is potent. Now, whether it's through an item, whether he cast the spell himself, whether it was a magical accident, we don't know where this guy came from, but he's got 3 duplicates of himself that all have some power. I mean, he did, some, higher level, some kind of magic that made Caleb not dirty anymore, which, I'm still waiting to find out what that's all about.
You sure it just wasn't prestidigitation?
No, because you only get a section. It's like a foot by foot square when you prestidigitate. But he just went like this, and all the dirt falls all off of him.
Yeah, well, maybe he just kind of embellished prestidigitation, which I would be completely fine with.
No, however it was done,
He cast it as a 9th level spell.
He did it magically, and Caleb was clean. And it's like, oh, this is the first time you're actually seeing a clean Caleb. Holy crud!
Yeah, so that was a big reveal for the episode, the real Caleb.
But this guy, it was incredibly knowledgeable in magical means, and to see Caleb trying to talk about, I need parchment and quill to transfer these scrolls into my book, and he's trying to go about it all like cool and sly, and he's like, oh well, what is it that you're trying to do?
And it's funny too because he talks like a total rube as well. But clearly he's got some power. So I mean with the various NPCs we got this episode, curious to see if any of them come back. Like one of them could definitely be a foil later on, or maybe even a minor villain with the one mayor of that one town, because he definitely does not like them now.
Yes.
We got a powerful spellcaster enchanter that's in the mix now. We have the gentleman that kind of showed them around that was kind of shady when they first got to Zadash.
I want him to come back because there was whispering that was happening, and I want to know what was said. I want to know what's going on there.
Yeah.
And if that guy doesn't come back, well, those things are just going to get lost.
And then they also have an ally with the armsman, the guard back at the same town where they had left. Who actually did really appreciate everything they did, even though the mayor hates their guts now. So I'm curious to see going forward how those NPCs kind of move with them.
We got a female dragonborn that was their horse master that I was a little surprised when he kept saying she, and he was doing a very deep dragonborn voice.
Well, they're dragonborn; they have deep voices.
I'm not saying that girls can't have deep voices. It's just I haven't seen other people voice dragonborn before, and and he kept emphasizing the she and doing this voice. I'm like, I just got a disconnect in my head. Maybe I'm just wired wrong.
Well, I like the idea of dragonborn being completely sexless. If you're not a dragonborn, you can't. It's so hard to tell unless you're very familiar with dragonborn. Like they know all the time, obviously.
Right.
Whether it's a pheromone thing or there's subtle variances that they pick up or whatever. But I like the idea because they're dragonborn and they're more reptilian that they're not easy to discern between the two sexes.
I like that idea. I mean, that's something that we could certainly adopt or adapt or what have you.
But the question is, guys, how did you like this episode? of Critical Role. We got a place where we can discuss that down in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.